Who are you?
Star-Lord.
Who?
Well, Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw.
You know what I see? Losers. But life's giving us a chance. To do what?
Something good, something bad, bit of both.
Oh, what the hell? I don't got that long a lifespan anyway.
Hello, this is the Film Debris Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. My name is Robert Temple. I will be your host. You can find me at Masterside on Twitter. Over here we got D'Anthony Graves.
What's up, what's up?
You can find him at...
Your boy Concepts.
And over here we got Raul Martir.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, it is. You can find me at Download Evil, DWNLBEVOL.
Can we get a little bit more enthusiasm out of you? Like,
I'm sorry. I had to make sure I'm spelling my own name right.
for real, we kind of looked at each other like, is he serious right now? Moving on.
Recording now. Okay. Today's podcast is about the Guardians of the Galaxy, the fourth Marvel movie to come out this year.
Yeah, they're making waves.
Cranking it out. Disney making money.
Banging it out.
As they always do. Gonna have a great show for you today.
Yeah.
As they say.
A lot of stuff involved.
First of all, we're gonna talk about some other movies that are in the theaters, because I think it's a pretty big week for movies this past weekend. First of all, I want to just start off with A Most Wanted Man. It's the last full Philip Seymour Hoffman movie that's coming out. And he's in there with Rachel McAdams. Directed by Anthony Corbijn. It's Corbijn. 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 Anyway, I want to talk about it because it's based on a book that's by John le Carre, who also wrote the Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy got Gary Oldman his first Oscar nomination, if you can believe that. It's the first time he was nominated for that movie, and in this movie it's also kind of the same. You have Philip Seymour Hoffman in the main role, where I think you could see him being nominated this time too. It's a very down-to-earth spy drama. It's not a spy thriller because it's not really that exciting, but it's very kind of matter-of-factly spy movie. Goes from point A to point B. I mean, the performances are good. The guy who plays the Muslim, Turkish prisoner, Russian guy, he was good. And of course, Philip Seymour Hoffman is always good as the German spy ringleader. If you like those spy books and you liked Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, I think it's worth seeing for you for the performances. Otherwise, I think a lot of people are going to be kind of bored with it. But we're going to pass it on, and I'm going to pass it on to some other movies. I think, what did you see this past weekend or past week? Raul?
I was a little late on watching movies. I mean, I watched them on Netflix. So if you guys have Netflix, you can watch them. I watched Homefront with Jason Statham.
Mm. Homefront was a good movie. I enjoyed it.
It was actually pretty decent. I mean, I liked the way it was.
It had James Franco also, right?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
What's that one? What's the Homefront about? I haven't seen that one. I'm like, Jason Statham is in my blind spot.
You're not really watching him.
Yeah.
Homefront, basically, this DEA agent, his cover gets blown in an operation he's in, and he ends up having to relocate somehow with how I guess the town is. His daughter beats up this little kid, essentially, and her mom has ties to some meth head guy that ends up getting the people he put away to come back and come hunting for him. So I mean, it's just
any good?
It's pretty good actually.
It's actually a pretty good movie. It's got some well names in there. You got Jason Statham, who's starring it. You got James Franco. Winona Ryder's in it. Kate Bosworth. She's the mother of the little boy. Yeah, she was in there, and she could really play trailer trash like
She can.
like no other. I thought Christina Ricci would be the only one, but then out of nowhere came Kate Bosworth, and she stole the show.
Juliette Lewis is pretty good at
She is
trailer trash.
but I don't think she's acting.
Okay, fair enough.
I think she stops acting and she's actually herself, which is why it's so believable. But yeah, when you look at it, it's a typical Statham flick. It's full of action. He's still Billy Badass. You know, you can't catch this guy off guard. He knows how to perfectly make a bomb out of like home appliances and light bulbs and shit like that. So, you know, you watch this movie. Their cover, the DEA or whatever cop, their cover is always blown, so the best place for them to go is not an overly populated place, but an overly populated small town where everyone knows. So if a new person goes, then you're only going to stand out. Like, why would you want to go there? Why not go somewhere where there's more people and you won't stand out as much? So it's an enjoyable movie. It's a lot of action. It's really cool.
That's good. All right, gonna pass the mic back over. I also saw Get On Up. It's the James Brown biopic, directed by Tate Taylor, who brought us to The Help. Now you have... So, Get On Up. I've been seeing this trailer for I don't know how many months, in every movie I see, to the point where it's you kind of get tired of it, especially since, like, in the trailers they don't show... They show a lot of people talking about him in today's... People today, artists today, like talking about how great he was. And that's fine, but then you kind of... I felt tired with it, but that's me. I'm watching... seeing these trailers all the time.
You see them 10 times a week.
Yeah. So you got the... Nice you have Tate Taylor in there who did The Help. He has Viola Davis come back and Octavia Spencer. There's even an appearance by Allison Janney. Dan Aykroyd. Nelson Ellis plays Bobby Bird. It's James Brown's right-hand man. And then you have Chadwick Boseman playing James Brown. And I remember we mentioned the Get On Up before, if we'd ever seen Chadwick Boseman. We knew Jesse had seen 42 and he liked that. And I do remember now that I saw Chadwick Boseman play a football player in Draft Day with Kevin Costner. You know, just like a side role, but he did stand out. I think I've seen Chadwick Boseman right now is the best performance in Get On Up, is the best performance I've seen for an actor this year so far. If the awards were today, I think he might win Best Actor for that role. The story goes back and forth a little bit, like, you know, kind of like Ray. You see him when he was young, and then you go to the future, and you go back and forth. I kind of wish that it would just go straight forward so we could go through his life with him, and then when big moments come where, like, his mom comes back into his life, we can just feel it in the moment as he feels it, instead of them showing her, then flashing back to when she was around and coming back to the present moment. Because I think the actors, Chadwick Boseman and Viola Davis, are good enough to show the audience why this moment is important.
Yeah.
Viola Davis isn't in a lot of it, and I feel like a lot of people act like, or feel like, you know, she was nominated for her part in Doubt also for Best Supporting Actress, and I think there's some people who said that, you know, it's a small part, that she shouldn't be nominated, but I think she might be one of the top 10 actresses today, I would say, because I noticed with her, I would say, not only is she acting... She's not acting for the scene in the movie that we're watching, because we see it and we see her in the scene. She can pull emotion for the moment of the lives of those characters, not just for the scene. It's like she's able to have that emotion for the lives of the characters in that moment of their lives, not for the moment in the scene.
Yeah.
So some very good performances. You know, he comes off as really egotistical. You can see that in the trailer where it's like, oh, I'm the greatest ever, and I'm the best, and he's a genius, and you know, that might be a turnoff for some, but in a way, it's kind of hard to dispute his music.
When you were watching this, like when we talked about it before, were you constantly thinking about Ray? Like, did you feel like in your mind you were comparing the two?
No, I remember, I think you brought that up,
Yeah.
and you said if you saw it, you kind of would have to compare it to Ray. I don't think I was, but it's hard not to.
It's hard not to, right?
Not just because it's a famous black guy singer, you know, but they're both from the deep South where gospel is their influence, and just in that by itself they come from kind of the same thing.
Like they could almost come from the same town.
Yeah,
in the way
yeah.
the movie was portrayed.
I mean, their music ends up being a little different. You know, Ray Charles is piano based and kind of jazzy, and James Brown, as they say in the trailer, is his all his own sound. But you know, even though some would say, and I could agree, that James Brown's music, all his songs, are kind of the same song. It is a good song.
Yeah.
And even at the end of the movie, they say he's one of the greatest influences and blah blah blah, and he's one of the most sampled musicians in the history of music. And when you start thinking about that, his voice, like "Hey" or whatever, is in so many songs. So, in a way, I could understand if someone gets tired of, okay, I'm sick of hearing about James Brown. I understand. I don't know, but I feel like in the long run, it's kind of hard to dispute how much of a powerhouse he was, and Chadwick Boseman was pretty amazing in the role. Like I said, right now, I think I would see him as maybe winning Best Actor for that performance. You know, it's really early in the year, but I gotta hand it to him for that. Otherwise, the movie was pretty entertaining. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in biopics that are easy to be cheesy about, and he talks directly to the camera sometimes, which was a big problem for me in Jersey Boys. But the way he does it in here, and because of his character, it kind of goes with how egotistical he is, because it's like he's supposed to be thinking ahead of these other businessmen sometimes, of how he wants to do things in his business. So it kind of goes with him thinking he's better and everything, and thinking he's smarter when he goes off and talks to the camera, because no one else is on his level.
Ain't nobody doing that.
So he talks to us. So good movie. It's good. Yeah, it's good.
Awesome. I also just found out that Jill, which is my wife for those who don't know, she's never seen Gangs of New York. So I was kind of taken back by that. I was like, I could have swore we saw that in like high school. That was showed in school.
Oh, that's good, because that's Daniel Day-Lewis doing a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a chance to see Daniel Day-Lewis for the first time in Gangs of New York. It's funny because in that movie, he's Bill the Butcher, based on a real person who existed, and he's anti-abolitionist, so he's like against Abraham Lincoln, and then he plays Abraham Lincoln like 7 years later.
Impressive. Rags to riches.
And then he becomes the man.
He hates the man, and then he becomes the man. Corporate America.
Until you become a man.
I'm trying to get into, like, I want to. The passion of getting into the movie is there, but every time I watch the movie, it's always the wrong time. It's like either like when I'm going to bed, so I either fall asleep on it, or I'm not really paying attention because I'm trying to go to sleep, or too much is going on in the background. But it's The Prestige. And I feel like it's going to be a good movie if I can ever like watch it.
Have you seen it before?
No.
That's maybe my favorite Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah?
Yeah.
See, and watching it, I feel like, oh man, this is going to be a good movie, but it's just the wrong time that I try to, even if I wanted to watch it, I would fall asleep on it because I'm just so tired.
Yeah. I mean, that one is a little purposely confusing.
Yeah.
Kind of like Inception.
With Hugh Jackman, who's still like all beastie.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman, Scarlett Johansson, Michael Caine.
Yeah. I got that movie because Under the Skin. I wanted to see some other movies. No, actually, before Lucy came out, I wanted to brush up on some of her other movies. and I got that movie so I could check it out, just like a perfect score. You remember that old?
I never saw it.
You never saw it? It was Chris Evans, one of the many movies that they worked together in. Yeah, they've done a few.
All right.
It was him, wasn't it?
Yeah, Chris
I
Evans.
completely forgot about that.
If you're looking for a good Scarlett Johansson movies, Match Point, Vicky Cristina Barcelona. So I think that's what we have right now for our movies. We're gonna take a break and we're gonna go on over to Guardians of the Galaxy. One of the big tentpole Marvel risks they took this year because it's a new IP. Like, they don't have any, it's the Avengers in space. We'll be right back on the Film Debris podcast.
A.K.A. the Destroyer. Since his wife and family were killed, he's been on a rampage across the galaxy in his search for vengeance. Gamora, soldier, assassin, wanted on over a dozen counts of murder. Rocket, wanted on over 50 charges of vehicular theft and escape from lockup.
What the hell?
Groot has been traveling recently as Rocket's personal houseplant / muscle. Peter Jason Quill. He's also known as Star-Lord.
Who calls him that?
Himself, mostly. He's wanted largely on charges of minor assault, public intoxication, and fraud.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know how this machine worked.
I'm Robert Temple. This is D'Anthony Graves.
What's up? What's up?
Raul Martir.
Hey, what's going on?
And we're going to be talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy. So, just we're going to talk a little bit about it. We're going to say some thoughts on how we felt about the movie. And then we're going to go into spoilers. We'll let you know when we're going to start spoiling and talking about the whole thing, the whole bloody affair. So, D'Anthony, do you have any quick thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy?
I liked how almost perfectly paced it was. The movie, it didn't have, to me, it didn't have any real dull moments. It flowed really nice. The transitions of scenes were nice and clean. The action was like perfectly choreographed. Everything just moved flawlessly. The acting, it was enjoyable. It was, I can't say it was top notch, but for what the movie gave us in that whole package, it definitely, for what it was definitely, it was good. It was nothing less than like a B+, The movie was enjoyable. Wasn't too long. It had a nice time to it, and the action that was involved with it took us from A to Z very, very well. So
yeah.
Can't really say too much more. D'Anthony kind of hit that right on the head.
I usually do.
Next time we'll go with you first. Raul.
Like you said, I mean, I really enjoyed the movie. It was a really good movie to watch. I mean, honestly, I might come see it again in theaters. I mean, it was good enough to come back and watch it again, which, if you guys have listened to these podcasts, most of the movies we've been watching, I haven't been too great on wanting to come back to watch them. So for me to actually want to come back to watch this movie again in theaters is a really good sign.
Yeah.
I think it carries the tradition that the Marvel Disney brand has been doing. They got some humor in there, and they have humor in there, and they have action, and it's blended pretty evenly and perfectly. They take the characters and they're able to give them all their own quirks, and in a way this is our origin story for them. And a lot of times once you get that origin story out of the way is when you can have a lot of fun with them. So I know that they're going to make a sequel, and they're going to have them part of the Avengers movie probably. So it'll be great to see how these characters who we're just being introduced to can kind of shine and be funny in those movies.
Yeah, we'll see how well they stand up to characters that we already know and have grown with.
I know, I think the first issue or the first book, or the collection of books or whatever it is, Iron Man is part of them or something.
Oh.
in the Avengers movie, you know, he actually goes into space or the other dimension or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something to do with he has some kind of connection now with that, or I don't know. Of course, I'm sure there's many people who know better than I do. So I've seen this movie twice now, and the second time, some of the jokes weren't as funny, maybe, but it wasn't less fun. It was still fun, and the action was still good. I don't know. It was. Can you think of anything that you would say was negative about it? There's something that you that didn't click with you?
I can't really say that I took anything negative from it, or even something that did kind of stand out to me. It wasn't big enough to really mention. It wasn't anything that took away from the movie that's worth mentioning. I think Disney Marvel, or Marvel Disney, however is appropriate to say it, I think in this direction that they're going with these superhero movies, as far as the Marvel line, they're doing really well. Like you said, they have enough action to keep the movie fun and everyone entertained, and then there's enough comedy to make it just that little extra, that plus on it that appeals to the audience even more, so they're doing a good job.
Yeah, one of the easiest ways to get an audience to like or appeal or whatever to a character is with comedy, or is with a little laugh or something that can connect them. Just like when you're gonna pick up girls, you gotta make her laugh
21 times,
and then they're putty. So in this movie, they get you to laugh. Sometimes it maybe feels like they're doing it a little too much. Like it seems with Groot, they can slap a smile on his face, and people will like smile because it looks kind of silly to see a tree smiling.
Yeah, it was awesome when
it's not bad. It's just a little.
He looked directly at us, so it's like you feel like he's breaking the fourth wall, but he's not. I don't feel like he was, but you can see
because he doesn't say much. So when he's looking at the camera, he's speaking with his eyes, Cause
with that perfectly pasted smile. And
never is Vin Diesel a better actor when he's voicing a character.
Well said.
Okay, so I think we're gonna get into some spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want it to be spoiled, and I'm sure there's going to be different things they did in the movie than they did in some of the comic books, you can stop listening here, pause us, come back. We're going to talk about some things deeper into the movie of the Guardians of the Galaxy, starting right now. So when that character dies, I was like, no.
That was something that did stand out when they were in space, and he gave God, I don't want to say the wrong name.
Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, Zoe Saldana's character, Gamora.
Mm-hmm.
When he gave Gamora his mask so she can breathe. So when you think about it, she had already been in space for about over a minute. We'll even slide on the time, because they sat in the ships and looked at her while she was there, and her skin was peeling away, like that one scene from
Part of
Lucy.
that was slow motion.
Even still, so we'll say about a minute they were looking at her. Then he gets out of his ship, and Rocket was like, "Oh, you can't do that. You won't last seconds there." But slow motion or not, he took his mask off, put it on her. She started breathing. He started deteriorating like Lucy, and that was more than 5 seconds, even in slow motion time.
You gotta give it to the fact that it is a superhero movie, and the fact that he's not just human though. Mm-hmm. They did mention that at the end. That
was revealed at the end. At that time, you're thinking he's just a human.
Yeah.
It's damn.
It kind of makes you click back on it afterwards. Like, oh, okay, now I understand why that happened. And her too, she's not human. So
you're right. I get it.
Which is weird, because in the comic, the very first 5 pages deal with him not being human. It's kind of weird. But, actually, if you're in space, human or not, I think, it depends if you're the Hulk, I guess. which you could be in this movie, I guess. It could happen. It's not so much the oxygen or whatever that might kill you, it's the radiation of just your bare skin being out in space.
Even still, the suction is like terribly cold. Like they're not freezing. Or, you know, he seemed okay. I just saw like maybe he was getting chafed skin.
No, his eyes were like getting a little like bloodshot, like if it was
deprived of oxygen. Yeah, because he was in the vacuum of space, maskless, and his mask covered his face, but the top of his head was perfectly exposed. So does that matter, or am I the only one who thought deeper than just his mouth being covered?
You know, I think heat escapes the body through your head.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if that applies in anti-gravity space.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I would assume not.
I guess we shouldn't get too deep into that. But so one of the problems I did have with the movie was the villain. I thought he was a little generic. I thought he looked cool. I thought the makeup was good in the movie.
Oh yeah.
I thought he looked cool.
What's his name? Ramos?
Ronan. Ronan the Accuser. I thought he looked cool, and I thought he was a little generic. The way he spoke was like, "'Tis the doom of your days," and it just reminded me of...
It will be your undoing.
Yeah, just like, oh, he's the villain, let's make him speak like Shakespeare.
Villains.
Yeah, like villains, you know.
With proper dialect.
And secondly, it was like, if you know anything about Marvel Comics, then Thanos is one of the most powerful entities in the galaxy, and whatever. Him, Galactus, Apocalypse. So for him to betray Thanos, to have, you know, the guts to do that...
The balls, the audacity to look at Thanos on the big projector screen. It said, what was the line that he said? Because you called me boy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Really?
Yeah, you're lucky to be alive.
I'm saying, you're lucky that's all I called you. You incompetent.
Yeah, so he goes against Thanos, and then 2 times he goes hand to hand against Drax the Destroyer, and doesn't just kill him in one move. I noticed the second time, I maybe I just missed it, though, he does kill the entire fleet with the Infinity Gem? Infinity Jewel?
Stone.
Yeah.
Infinity Stone. So once he passes that stone, it kills them all, and, you know, so I guess that makes him pretty cool that he kills so many people, but I just felt like if he's so powerful, he should have killed Drax twice. Drax should be dead
2
twice
times.
in the movie.
Even before he had the stone, he was still handing it to him.
Mm-hmm.
He was giving it to him like none other.
He says, I don't remember your family, and he throws him in a pool of liquid.
Yellow, looked like possible urine.
See, but I thought, like, it was kind of weird where, like, Drax is sitting there, you know, punching him in the chest, and I guess he notices that his chest piece cracks or something.
Yeah, there's like one moment where he's like,
so that's why he, like, decides, oh, now I'm gonna beat you down and throw you into that pool.
Mm-hmm.
Of urine.
Yeah, or whatever it was.
Possible urine.
And then the second time, I mean, when they hit him with that rocket, I mean, his chest, you know, where I guess Drax would have hit him, it's sitting there like red, and like if how do you explain that?
So it was like a weak spot
that
they were trying to hit?
I would assume so. I mean, that's what...
Okay, I didn't notice any of... I mean, I noticed that he, like, Drax punches him once, and he kind of looks down, and he throws him into a pool that is supposed to be, like, nowhere's... because it's a mining community and of this big head, and so it's supposed to be maybe acidic or something that's supposed to kill things.
Who knows?
You would assume, I guess.
Yeah, because why don't you just kill him? Chop off his head is easier than...
Break his neck. You kept choking him out.
Yeah.
If you're going to hold a big 400-pound beast by the throat, why don't you just crack that thing? You know what I'm saying? Don't throw him around. Let's cut the crap and get down to brass tacks here.
Yeah. So then in the end, when he survives the ship crash, which he should, he's the villain.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out and he's about to hit the planet with his Infinity Stone, and dancing ensues. I can put loose.
And that stopped his whole everything.
Which,
it's like, what are you doing?
Which
I can kind of excuse for a moment of comedy.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what Star-Lord's whole thing is his I don't know, not awkwardness, but his
Comedic relief.
unconvention.
Yeah.
But it just makes the villain seem kind of silly.
What are you doing?
I mean, I guess it'd be kind of like, it's just, the villain's just like, wait, are you serious type thing? Like,
are you serious?
What
Are you seriously
doing? Like,
standing there twerking right now, bro?
I think he's doing the Running Man for a moment.
Yeah, are you serious? Are you jerking right now, bro? Like, your world's about to be destroyed.
and you're sitting here shaking your butt in front of me.
Yeah, you're gonna do that, huh? I do like how, what's her name?
Gamora?
No, the other, her sister.
Nebula.
There we go. Why am I not holding on to their names? Nebula. I do
just
like.
the second time to remember her name.
I do like how you know how I am with my long-winded monologue speeches that are perfectly timed. I love
When they
how
finally get to
hers
her.
when they cut hers short. Oh, I think I was the only one who like really enjoyed that part. I was like, yes, thank you.
It was pretty great for Drax just to be like, no one talks to my friends like that after shooting her with a rocket.
I didn't see that coming. I was like, wow, I know they're going to listen to her for about 30 more seconds. She's going to finish everything she has to say, and then they're going to start fighting. No, he cut that short, and there was only a few times when I've enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
My most favorite would be Sam Jackson in Deep Blue Sea. That was just the most iconic disruption of a inspirational speech.
So we've brought up Drax a few times. I think for a wrestler, I think Dave Bautista was really good as Drax. You know, I tweeted when I saw this that there's a good movie in the theaters this week that has a WWE wrestler in it, and it's not Hercules. And this movie is a lot better than Hercules. And The Rock isn't bad in that movie, or Dwayne Johnson isn't bad in that movie, but I thought Batista played this role exactly how he should.
As a Groot.
As a
Brute.
As a brute.
As a brute.
Not Groot.
As a brute.
But on the other,
We'll get into Groot, but we're talking about Drax.
You know, I thought he had some good kind of layup jokes that, you know, kind of are lobbed to him, and he can just say, you know, why would I touch his throat with my finger? Or you do not call me a thesaurus, you know. But I think he performed that well, and he was cast well in that, and he did a good job. On the other hand, I think, if you agree with me, Rocket Raccoon kind of steals a lot of scenes.
As far as the witty comments and those quick cutaways, yes, perfectly. And their reaction to him and the things that he says and does, they really acted that out well too.
Yeah. When considering he's probably not there.
Yeah, they really put that together in a manner that you felt like there was actually a talking raccoon there with feelings. He had feelings.
Yeah,
He did.
He didn't want to be called a raccoon
Or a vermin.
Yeah, he didn't know what a raccoon was.
Yeah, he was like, what the hell? You know?
Rodent.
Who-
Wait, but how does he know what a rodent and a vermin is, but not a raccoon?
I could understand like those words being used as just
he
as
understood
insults.
the context
Yeah.
in
guess
which
so,
they
yeah.
were used, but being called a species that he's probably never seen before.
Right.
What is
I think
that?
raccoons are actually in the bear family, but I digress.
That should have been in Lucy.
But I thought he was really good. I thought Bradley Cooper was really good with the voice.
Yes.
Rocket Raccoon is in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I want to say Gamora is in there too, but maybe I'm thinking of another green character with tentacles. No, not that she had tentacles. But I think a lot of people are rating Guardians of the Galaxy as one of the best movies of the year right now, as far as Rotten Tomato scores and stuff like that. And it's interesting because Chris Pratt is also does the lead voice in the Lego Movie, and that's one of my favorite movies of the year so far. So Chris Pratt's having a very big year. And he brings his humor to this, and he has the music and everything. I thought the opening of the movie was a little heavy-handed with the mother.
Yeah, I think they put... I see why they showed that and why it shows his... You know, even though he was pretty much raised in space, his still deep-rooted hold on to his humanity. And his past, even though it seems like he's running away from it, like he did at the time, he's still holding on to it and utilizing that in his life. I see why they would show that. It could have been cut down a little bit, or they could have, I don't know, maybe found another way to tell that situation, but
I think they wanted you to, I guess, feel what he felt to try to make it so that you do.
Well, in that case, then I kind of felt like he was a dick as a kid. Then, like, his dying mother's holding out her hands, and she asked him, like, "Hold my hand, grab my hand," and he's like, "No, you're dying. Ew, get away from me."
I mean, he was kind of a dick as an adult too.
Not really.
I mean, because he saves what's her name?
Yeah,
And
he seemed to fall for the green girl, but his mom dying in front of him.
Well, he saves her from space, and then they get inside, and he says, "Wow, I'm really heroic." I noticed in the movie they took a couple times they took a minute in the middle of dialogue to let the characters just kind of banter a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they're saying, "I have a plan," and "Oh, you got that from me." It's, I have a plan. It's 12% of a plan.
That just shows how disconnectedly connected they are.
Well, it's nice because it allows them to, for lack of a better term, be human for a moment, where they just kind of argue for no
apparent reason.
For no reason. It doesn't help the situation. They're just kind of, because they are a ragtag group of people who didn't want to be together or didn't expect to be together. And the way they come upon the Guardians of the Galaxy name is just because the bad guy
said it.
Sarcastically calls them that.
He gave it to them. They say all the best names are the ones given to you.
One other problem I had, and the first time I saw it, I had a problem with. The second time I didn't have it as much, but it still bothered me. In the final line when they defeat Ronan, he says, Star-Lord says something like, "You said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy." And I kind of feel like using bitch right there kind of takes down that moment.
That hero moment.
Because, I mean, he is supposed to be not immature, but he's supposed to be kind of not your normal heroic whatever guy.
See, that reminds me of the last Blade movie where Wesley Snipes says "mother" like every 5 seconds. And I mean, the first few movies he says it, but the third one he just says it so much, it's just like, I don't really want to watch this anymore if I'm gonna keep saying that. So it just reminds me of that. But I mean, I get what you're saying on that.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that was kind of unnecessary, I suppose.
And I'm not like even against bad language or whatever. I thought the cameo of Wolverine in X-Men First Class, where he just says "fuck off" or "fuck you" or "go fuck yourself" or whatever it is, I thought it was really good. Just in that moment, there's this part where John C. Reilly says, it's quoting Star-Lord saying, I'm an asshole, but I'm not a complete dick. And even in that, I'm okay with that. I just feel like in their final heroic moment, him calling the bad guy a bitch doesn't really, I just feel like it doesn't fit in the heroic, horns and trumpets playing in the background moment.
That is hurrah. But I actually, with all that being said, I still found the movie to be awesome. It was still really enjoyable. Probably one of the biggest movies that I've seen this year. I appreciate where it was coming from and where it's going to. I'm a little excited to see if they do happen to do a cameo in the new Avengers movie. I'm excited about that. Like, I would not want them connected because of fear that they'll ruin the movie or the characters weren't built up enough to do that. Because in this movie, they gave us a pretty good backstory on all of them, except Groot. I don't think they really,
I feel like maybe that's his race.
I don't think he needed it. Yeah. But with the other characters, we get their backstory. We see why they're there and why they're on the mission that they're on, and how everything kind of coordinates together to put them together. I get that. So I think that was where I hope the Justice movie does, the Batman vs. I just hope that they put that much time. Yeah, that they, because when you think about it, we know about Batman and Superman. Like, we've all been down their origin story. It's been told over and over and over, so we can skip all that. But with them being together in the movie, you wanted to make some sort of sense as to why they are at that point that they're at and what situation we're going to see them go through. For a lot of people who don't know the characters in this movie quickly but efficiently gives us their story, and it makes sense as to why they're together.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they can do it that well, then I'm expecting a good movie out of it.
They give you their past, or they like weave it in somewhere.
Yeah. You know,
where it doesn't disrupt things, or they don't go into a full flashback of, I'm Rocket Raccoon, let me tell you a 10-minute story.
Yeah. All the characters, all of the main characters, there is a reason why they're in that position and why they're acting that way, and you understand it. It makes sense. So that was a real good job. I liked the movie. If I were to give it a rating, I would definitely say A-.
Raul, final verdict?
I'm gonna agree
Judge, jury.
I'm gonna agree with D'Anthony on that. It's a A- movie. It's really good, really well put together. Something I'd go again and see. So
yeah, it's like I said, I think it's continuing the job of Marvel, Disney, putting together those good movies. James Gunn, director, did a good job with juggling all the things in there and keeping everything coherent and together. I saw that there was a little cameo by Lloyd Kaufman, he's like the owner and director of Trauma Movie Studio, who does these really purposely bad horror movies. They're most famous for The Toxic Avenger, and I think James Gunn got his start in Trauma or something, or he worked closely with Lloyd Kaufman. So it was nice to see. It's fun. I like that the scientific or the space world is like original looking. It didn't remind me of Star Wars or Star Trek. I did notice, and I think it might just be me, but when there's a bunch of CG spaceships in the sky flying around shooting, and with Star Wars 2 or Transformers, when there's a bunch of CG machines flying around and shooting, I kind of tune out a little bit, because I feel like overall it doesn't really mean anything. Because when there's a scene that's going to mean something, they're going to go back to the characters, say something or do something to each other. So it kind of loses me a little bit when it gets to those kind of things where they were in nowhere and Drax called in Ronan to come pick them up, and they're flying around on these little things. And it was cool that Star-Lord used his little pod to get into one of the enemy ships.
Yeah.
drive it.
And drive it using his pod. But I think we all give Guardians of the Galaxy a good go, as well as most people is giving it universal praise.
Yeah. Definitely a movie to check out.
Yeah. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come right back. We're going to close some things out. We're going to give you a little peek on, we're going to have a conversation about the 4 Marvel movies that have come out this year: Spider-Man, X-Men, Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy. So we'll be right back. Stick with us. Film Debris Podcast. Coming right back at you.
Your father developed and perfected the ultimate steroid. He called it FLAG, Full Latent Ability Gain. He injected himself with the serum, and it worked.
A top-secret serum gave Steve Rogers superpowers. Now he can use them to save a city from a madman with a bomb.
Finished.
If he accepts the challenge.
Be Captain America, Steve.
Starring Len Berman, Heather Menzies, Steve Forrest, and Reb Brown as the star-spangled superhero Captain America.
Ain't no thing like me except me.
They call themselves the Guardians of the Galaxy. This might not be the best idea.
And we're back. That was a little clip from Guardians of the Galaxy. So we're going to close out and give you some final thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy, whether or not we think you should see it, and anything else we think that you should see that based on what we saw this past weekend or whatever. So, give me a quick synopsis, 1 or 2 words on Guardians of the Galaxy. Raul.
Good film. I guess good film. I mean, you said 2 words. That's my 2 words. Is good film. Really good film, actually.
It's not great.
Great film. Fine, great film.
It's not superb.
We can keep going at this all night. Okay. Go watch the movie. Go check it out. It's worth it. It really is. I'll pass it on to D'Anthony here.
My 2 words, I would say fun and witty. And I do think that you guys should check it out if you haven't seen it already. It's been out for the weekend, but if you haven't seen it, or even if you have seen it and you want to take a friend, seeing it a second time, as Temple can vouch for it, it's not bad. You can still sit through it and still, take something away from the movie that you might not have seen the first time. You won't sit there bored. It's an overall good movie.
Yeah, I think I would say great fun.
Great fun.
Those are my 2 words. Yeah, I think it's going to be part of the overall Marvel universe. They're going to be tied in somehow, somewhere. So, of course, if you're a fan of it, you've probably already seen it. And if you're listening this far, you've probably already seen it. What I think is also something that's good about it is that if you just call it a comic book movie, in a way that's kind of diminishing it a little bit. If you're a science fiction fan and you just love space movies and you don't care about Captain America, whoever, I think you will really like it also. I think the space, the aliens, the dogfighting in the ships and everything, that all that stuff is there, comic book or not. It's a good original world and it's really fun.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing a bonus episode where we're going to talk about the Marvel movies that have come out this year. That's The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Captain America 2: The Winter Soldier, X-Men: Days of Future Past, and Guardians of the Galaxy. And we're going to break down the order we think that they're all the best that they are, which order they should go in as far as which ones are the best at doing what they're supposed to do. And we're all going to say our favorite one right now on 1, 2, 3.
In the next episode, we'll tell you why.
Why and what's the worst.
I guess our negative thoughts about.
I'm kind of afraid of which one's worse because I don't even think they're really that bad. And that's one of the good things is Guardians of the Galaxy. They're all good, Like we're living in a time right now where all these movies are pretty good quality.
Yeah, they're cranking them out. Well, at least from Marvel, they're cranking them out, and they're upholding and withstanding on their own. So that's a bonus.
Yeah. So you can find some more reviews, and you can find this blogcast, and you can find... I have these articles up about the top movies of the year so far, in my opinion, and the award watch page for what could potentially win awards for the Oscars and whatever coming out by next year. All on siteheist.com. You're probably listening to this on YouTube right now, or if it's in the future on some magical brain sphere. But otherwise, youtube.com/filmdebris, and you can get all of the reviews and everything. Filmdebris, Site Heist, they cross-pollinate and everything. You can find them on Twitter also. My name is Robert Temple. You can find me on Twitter at Masterside. D'Anthony Graves, you can find him on Twitter at
Your Boy Concepts.
Raul Martir, you can find him on Twitter at
Download Evil.
And you can find all of this fun stuff all over the interwebs.
Just an update. This is Concepts Watch movie number 19.
Chipping away at that 1,000 hashtag.
We're moving on up. Pretty soon we'll be a full adult. And then the legal drinking age. So we're moving.
Chipping away at that Concepts Watch 1,000 movies hashtag.
Yes.
See, we're at 19, so we got a couple more movies for Turtles. You gonna see the Ninja Turtles?
Ninja Turtles, and then Let's Be Cops is definitely high. I've been excited about that since I've seen the trailer the first time. Mm-hmm. Unlike Get On Up. So, that's
Let's Be Cops. That'll be something fresh.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like 80s dope fresh. I mean like
much needed breath of fresh air.
Different people. No, there's no As far as I know, no Seth Rogen or James Franco in this one.
Second generation comedians. Yes.
So that's what's coming up on Side Heist Film Debris. We're going to be talking about those 4 Marvel movies. We're going to do a bonus episode for that. And then next week we'll probably be watching Turtles at some point. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Whoever thought it would come to this. So, I'm Robert Temple for D'Anthony Graves, for Raul Martir. We'll be seeing you next time. Film Debris Podcast. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.